I call to order the City of Bloomington Board of Zoning Appeals for March the 19th, 2020. Roll call, please.
Husky? Here. Clapper?
Here.
Throckmorton?
Here.
Burrell?
We have minutes from November that need to be approved.
I recommend for approval.
Do I have a second?
A second.
Okay. Can I have a roll call, please? Or a vote?
Burrell? Abstain. Husky? Yes. Clapper?
Yes.
Throckmorton?
Yes.
Okay.
301.
Thank you. Reports, resolutions, and communications. I want to first welcome Flavia Burrell officially to the Board of Zoning Appeals. Thank you for joining us and for your service. And I want to say for those of you who are listening at home that the hearing is also being streamed live on facebook.com /City Bloomington that offers an opportunity to public comment if you can't make it here this evening or do not wish to come for obvious reasons. So we welcome you to comment through that forum. Is there anything else, Jackie?
Two of the petitions listed on the agenda that was sent out tonight in the packet, Administrative Appeal AA 4119 and Variance V 4419 have been continued to the next hearing. So the only petition we will hear tonight is Variance 0720. So this is in response to an executive order issued by the governor related to meetings, which we've talked about a little bit here, and what sort of items should be being heard to try to make the meetings as timely and short as possible.
Okay, thank you. So this evening, we're going to hear V-07-20, City of Bloomington. Staff report, please.
Great, thank you. So the petition before you tonight is from the City of Bloomington Redevelopment Commission, and it is related to a parking garage that is planned to be built at the southwest corner of 4th and Walnut at 105 and 111 West 4th Street. You can see here on the right. The property is 0.7 acres, zoned commercial downtown, and the comprehensive plan in this area is also downtown. The previous garage that you could see here in the aerial has actually already been razed, demolished, so the site is currently vacant. Some surrounding uses include Waldron Arts Center to the north, bank, multifamily, bar, and restaurant to the west, and then Firestone and office to the east, with office to the south as well. So the variance before you this evening is two variances from entrance and drive standards from 20.05.035. So the two variances being requested are one related to a separation requirement for new driveways from Walnut Street, and the second variance is for the width of the drive that's being requested on 4th Street. So you can see here two numbers shown at the top of this image. The 39 feet is the width of the driveway that is proposed for the new parking garage, and then 65 feet is the distance from the corner at Walnut to the location of the new driveway. So as I mentioned before, there was a pre-existing garage at this location. The garage that was there previously did have a roughly 40-foot wide vehicular entrance, so similar to what is being proposed here. Code requires that any entrance on 4th Street, because it is a non-classified road or otherwise maybe called a neighborhood street, would not exceed 24 feet. And again, the petitioner is proposing 39 feet, which is comparable to what was there before. Part of the reason why they are requesting that width is that there are 3 drive aisles planned for the entrance. And you can see that here. This area here is where the entrance would be located. You can kind of see the stop bars here for the 3 aisles. So there would be one dedicated entrance, one dedicated exit, and then a middle lane would be entrance and exit as needed. So because this building only has one entrance exit location on 4th Street, which is the required street to be used by code, 3 lanes have been included in the design in order to facilitate improved vehicular flow, so that if this structure is being used at one particular time for an event that is filling up or emptying out quickly, that this can be adaptable and let that middle lane be able to help ease some of the pressure there. So the other variance is distance from the edge of this 3rd drive aisle to Walnut. So because of the road classification of Walnut, the required distance separation is 100 feet, and the petitioner is proposing a 65-foot separation. The site, as you can see here, is limited in width, so the petitioner is requesting the variance so that the driveway can be closer to Walnut here than otherwise would be allowed. Code does have some leeway in that the driveway, as long as it's as far away from the intersection as possible, if it cannot meet the 100 feet, that is allowed. However, the design of this garage and many garages requires a stair tower at this location in the corner. Additionally, this garage is planned to have public restrooms on 4th Street. That was part of the mandate from City Council, and those need to be located as well in this location, limiting how far west that drive entrance could be located in the design. So the department has found that based on the limited amount of space on the 4th Street frontage to place not only vehicular entrances but pedestrian entrances as well, that the location that the petitioner has submitted is probably the best as far west as would be possible, while also taking into account the other requirements that need to be included on that frontage. The department also finds that having the wider entrance exit of 39 feet allows the building to function in the way that it is needed and intended for public good. And we recommend that the BZA adopt the proposed findings and approve V07-20 with the following conditions: that the petitioners, of course, must obtain a building permit prior to construction, that this petition is approved per terms and conditions of the Plan Commission case associated with the parking garage, and that it is for the drawings we have received only. Any other non-code compliant changes require additional variance approval. So I can answer any questions.
Thank you. Petitioner's representative, you could please step to the podium.
My name is Bill Rickert. I'm Blessed Rickert Cooper James. We're with the CSO Design team on the parking garage project.
Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Okay, you have up to 20 minutes.
Okay. I have really nothing more to add to what Jackie has said, other than it is part of the structural design to have these openings where they are, and almost imperative that they be there. To reconfigure it will offset the configuration within the parking garage and be able to host these additional features like the restrooms Jackie spoke of, as well as the stair tower, which has to line up with the overpass that used to exist or currently is just hanging out there over 4th Street. So I too can answer any questions perhaps that you have.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, so we are to the board for questions or clarifications.
Yeah, for the petitioner.
Could you please stay at the podium?
So just for the record, the question that would be most obvious is why not move the stair tower to the corner of 4th and Walnut and simply have the bridge exit on the 2nd level into the parking space? Could you explain why that was decided against? To move the stair tower from where its current position is to the corner of 4th and Walnut instead, to allow for the setback?
Right. So there currently is a connector
I understand, but I'm saying it could exit onto the actual parking platform instead of into the stair tower. So I just want to get on the record that why it's not feasible to get the setback, because the stair tower can't be moved to the corner instead.
Oh, okay, yes.
Yeah.
Well, it has to realign with the overpass to reconnect to the downtown square. If we don't have that connection, it would jeopardize what we had in the past, and this is a replacement facility, so we're trying to match up with what we had. I suppose...
But I guess what I'm saying is the bridge could actually go out onto a small pad there on the second level. It doesn't have to go into a stairwell, or is it required by code to go into a stairwell?
Yes, well, it would be, because there's an elevator, and it's ADA compliant, so if you are in need of an elevator, that's the connection. Otherwise, you'd have to traverse back and forth through the garage and maybe not even use the first floor.
Okay, thank you for that.
You're welcome, thank you.
Please stay at the podium.
Yes.
Any other questions? Cassandra, do you have any questions? I want to follow up. Could you please explain the placement of the bathroom core? Am I correct in understanding that the former garage, that the entry and exit was shifted over next to the stair tower that was in the northwest corner? So it's really so what's changed in this plan is that the bathrooms now are being inserted?
That's correct, yes.
Correct.
Yes.
Could you explain that a little bit and why that's not flipped or mirrored?
Well, we're trying to there's a series of things. We're accommodating bicycle parking, and those are housed in a corral essentially on the west side for convenience and ease of entry and exit. And then there are the actual travel lanes within the garage. So the way the design is set up is to allow those vehicles to come in and out toward the center, so then they can go up the ramp and come back out below. So there's some key features to the operation internally for the cars that it just optimizes entrance and exit, and this was the best place to set the restrooms. So they're on the forefront on 4th Street. Now, we also have the parking offices that flank along Walnut Street. So the parking division will have offices to the south of where the bike corral or bike parking is, followed by leasable commercial space that trunks down that forefront. So that really sets the stage as to where these other features can be placed. And the choice was then to move the restrooms up near the front of the building for the public, and then keep everything else inside along those corridors, essentially established along Walnut Street, and then the travel lanes in the center.
Okay. So if there's an event letting out and there are a lot of cars leaving, so there's an ability for cars to stack within the garage,
That's
sort of
correct.
waiting for that light to change?
Yes. And then there's also, there are 2 lanes that can exit, so you could go right out or left out.
Okay.
And then if there's a problem with stacking with signals, of course, then they can wait in the garage.
Okay. A question about the visibility. I think there was some discussion of this in the staff report. It looks, the plan that we have in the packet anyhow, it looks like that there's some sort of wall that's between the exit lane and the bike parking area.
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
Is that an actual wall? Is there glass in that wall? Is there a way that if I'm in a car and I'm coming out, that I can actually see through that space and see pedestrians approaching?
Yes, those are columns, actual columns, so there's no wall. That complete opening on what would be the east side is where all the bikes would park. So it's open, and you can see directly through between the columns out. You can see directly east toward Walnut Street. Okay. So there's no walls that block the line of sight.
So the plan that we have on sheet 45 is not accurate? Does not represent what's actually happening?
I'm not positive.
Do we have that?
Okay. I don't know if you have.
Just a
Do
second.
you have the? Yeah, page 45, it's just not, it's not clear.
Yeah, I'm just going to go to the packet.
Very essentially, you're talking about one of that bike parking that's there.
Right, I'm talking about the two lines that are between the east exit lane and that whole bike parking area.
Which is far
East, exactly.
east
So,
of Walnut, right?
right, so as you're coming out,
Yeah, because those two lines are there, or they have walls? is the
right,
question.
right.
It's that,
Perfect.
that line right there, the cursor.
Right where the cursor is, that's, yeah, just right below that, exactly.
That's-
So
It's a curb?
there looks to be a bit of sidewalk there, so there is sidewalk
Yeah.
next to the,
Yes.
okay.
And there's a curb, that's a curb, a raised
That's a curb, and then there's a double line that runs north-south, that one there.
Yes.
What is that?
I believe that's a curb line.
That's also a curb.
And
Okay.
the other might just be a painted line.
Okay,
Now, I don't know absolutely for
Okay.
fact.
so
But
just
there-
to
ahead.
clarify, then the bike parking area is open to the interior of the garage?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, great. That's
And
what
s-
I wanted
and
to
see,
make sure.
those, at one point, were supposed to be motorcycle parking spaces, but they've decided not to do that.
Okay,
So the ones that were facing toward the east, that Jackie's running her cursor across, were at
Okay.
one point motorcycle spaces. But there's not a wall there, it's a
okay,
curb.
great, great. Okay, any other questions? Jackie, just procedurally, will we be taking two votes, or will these be, can we
I think
lump them
it's up to you-
together?
Yeah, it's up to you. You can lump them if you want to.
Okay, so depending on the motion?
Sure.
Okay, thanks. Okay, so, thank you.
You're welcome.
We are now to the public for any additional or any comments. If you could step to the podium, please, and state your name, and then I'll swear you in, and then you have 5 minutes.
Hi, I'm Greg Alexander.
Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
I'm here to speak against the width of the driveway. We have a problem at the, just to motivate that, at the 7th and Walnut public garage. If you're coming from the north as a pedestrian on the sidewalk, then drivers coming out of the garage are coming right at you, and they're looking left. They're preparing to make a right turn, and they're looking left because that's where the traffic's coming from on Walnut. And because it's fairly wide open from their perspective, they don't have to look right. It's not so close that they're going to run into the wall or they're going to run into the curb. And so they, very early, while they're still within the garage, they begin looking left. And as a pedestrian coming across that, they're not looking directly ahead. They're not looking to their right. They're not looking at me. And we recently had a fatality from this mode at 3rd and Washington, where somebody was turning right, looking left, and they were not looking ahead, and they ran over a pedestrian and killed her. And so that's very important to me. So the width, it does two things. When it's very wide, it allows you to zone out as a driver. You don't have to worry about, holding a line, so you can start looking left earlier. And then as a pedestrian, the width, it's longer that you're exposed to the danger. A pedestrian moves about 3 or 4 feet per second, and so this could be a 5-second crossing if it was only 25 feet wide, or it could be a 15-second crossing if it's 40 feet wide like they're proposing. And a car is only 6 foot wide, and the proposal is for 13 feet per lane. So I understand why they want to have 3 lanes, but you don't need that much width for cars. It's structurally convenient for them. It allows them to put the machine that raises and lowers the gates in the middle of the driveway. But there's no reason to do that. You can put the machines at the edge of the driveway. One machine has to be in the middle, but just one. And the lanes themselves don't have to be wider than 8 feet. In most parts of the world, 8 foot is the standard lane width for a travel lane. Only very large trucks that won't fit in a garage are wider than 8 foot. So there's really no reason for them to be wider than 8 feet as a general lane. So that's 24 feet for the opening. You'll need a little bit of space here and there, but there's just no reason for this to be wider than 30 feet. And 39 feet is just ridiculous. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else here would like to comment? Okay, seeing no one else, I'm back to the board for action. Further questions?
I'll put a motion forward right now. I move approval of V-07-20 based on the written findings with the 3 recommendations provided. The petitioner must obtain a building permit approved per terms and condition, and the approval for drawings is submitted.
Do I have a second? Okay. Discussion?
I'd actually like to hear the petitioner address the comments from the public, if that's possible.
So I guess we're talking about the actual opening for the driveways. I don't have the dimensionings for it, but my guess is that the actual travel lane is probably 8 feet. We've got columns that are on the order of maybe 3 to 4 feet. And so there's a column between the single lane and the double lane. So you take that out of the equation. So if you start parsing this down to a pedestrian way and 2 car lanes with a kiosk or a device in between, taking up 2 to 4 feet. So if that's 4 times 3, that's 12. Take 12 off of 39, and a sidewalk, you're down to 24. So you really are dealing with 8-foot travel lanes. Now the whole width of, and maybe we can look back at the one floor plan. You can't pull a column out, or you can't support the whole garage. So we've got some structural obstacles that really require those widths to be there. I guess we could have, if we needed to, break down and create smaller, have a shelter for a 4-foot section, but it seems more simpler just to leave the opening
Can you
wide.
speak into the
Oh,
microphone?
okay. Yes, it seems more simpler just to leave it wide open as we take our curb line out to the street. So for the pedestrian, you really have 2 gaps. You've got about an 8-footer, and then you've got the column line, and then you've got the double with the gates that would ride in between. So you've got to have those devices. You can't just randomly you have to have a place for someone to check out, pay with their credit card that takes space for that device, and then the dual operation. So not having a dimension drawing in front of me, I can't tell you precisely how wide those lanes are, but they're on the order of 8 feet or 10 feet max.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not the full width of where we have the curbed outlets onto the street.
I see that you have concerns about pedestrian safety and are trying to address that. Are there some things other cities have done? It sounds like this is going to be a problem no matter what. Like, I'm not really sure what you can do. What are the options?
Yeah, so for instance, the Morton Street garage here on Morton and 7th, they have mirrors that are mounted on
Yeah.
either way to monitor, or that you can look up and see pedestrians coming your way as well. So we looked at some other options, but they really didn't feel they were appropriate, like lighting the surface where a car would approach and it would illuminate the walkway, giving a pedestrian the sense or knowledge that someone would be pulling out. So, part of this is in a city where you have to have parking garages and driveways, pedestrians also have to play a part in being alert and understanding. Just like at a signalized intersection, you've got a crosswalk with a signal that says it's time or that it's your turn to cross the street. Now, I would think pedestrians also would be cautious walking in front of a garage. So, and the drivers leaving should be looking both ways. Now, I don't know of any fatalities in this town since I've been here where someone got injured crossing a parking garage exit or entrance, and that's over 30 years. It's unfortunate, the recent incident at 3rd and Washington, but that was on a street intersection as well.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
The way I want to understand is, Are you saying that the fatality was street-related and not parking garage-related?
That's my understanding. It was a pedestrian crosswalk at Washington.
And not
In Third.
in front of a parking garage?
That's correct, yes.
Is that accurate?
Yes.
Okay, I'm sorry, I was led to believe it was happened at a parking garage, sorry. Thank you.
I'd like to ask a follow-up question. Is there any perceived, is there more a need or an understood need for having to exit 2 lanes or enter 2 lanes? Or is there a balance?
I'd say it'd be a balance.
Okay,
So, for instance, if you're coming, in the morning, when people come to work, I presume the entrance is the maximum flow, and then in the evening, when everybody leaves,
Right.
it's the opposite. If you have an event, say there's a play at the Waldron, or an art show or something, everyone would be coming in at the time before the show starts, and they would exit after.
right,
So then, to help with the flow,
Okay.
you have that option.
okay. So the arrival time is just as critical as the exiting?
Yes,
Okay, because I was just wondering if if it were more related to exiting, if that 3rd lane can be closed down when it's not necessarily used.
I presume they could do that.
So that you could actually neck down the actual width of where the activity is.
Yes, yeah. So I really haven't talked with the operations people of the garage, but I would think if you just had a normal day with no peak flows coming in or out, you could just use 2, the incoming and outgoing.
Right,
See, the 7th and Morton garage, those gates are inboard of the garage. You don't see them out in the front, so you're funneled down into 1 single lane leaving
right.
and 1 entering. But here, because it has to be pushed out the orientation of the travel lane with respect to the street, that one's 90 degrees to the street.
Okay, so it's related then to the signage. So if the 3rd lane becomes the overflow lane, so that the middle lane is the one that flips back and forth, and you only
Yeah.
use that 3rd lane when you actually have to, then the majority of the time, you would only be crossing 2 lanes of traffic.
Yeah, that's correct. If they choose, I believe they would have that option with the controls for the gates.
Okay, just the reason I asked that is because I think there was some of the imagery on the outside where the signage, it said enter in the middle, and I just didn't know if
Well-
there would be the flexibility.
It would have to be to one side or the other in order to have a dual lane, which optimally would be in the center, so you're not mixing
Right.
the 2.
I don't,
So
I don't-
perhaps on the elevation, just graphically, we didn't get it right. But
Okay, that might be misleading then at this point. Pardon?
Arrows that they have over the road surface when they change.
Right, because,
2 X's don't enter,
yeah.
Yeah, right.
Well, I think that there was a good point made, and I think whenever we can minimize the conflict between pedestrians and people entering and leaving, we want to do that, and we want to neck that activity, that width down. And so if the majority of the time it could be that way, that I would hope that the design could respond to that desire.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other questions or thoughts?
I'm already pretty sure the answer to this, but there is no street parking near these entrances, right? Entrance and exit?
Not on 4th. I think there's parking further to the west. To the west, yeah.
Chinese restaurant.
Right, and I don't even think now, I don't believe there's any in front of WFHB on the north.
But there's no, it's not in the plans, it doesn't show anywhere that there's going to be street parking there.
Well,
Because it is an issue at the Morton Street garage, people coming in and out. With the street parking there, you can't
Yes.
see a car coming.
and that's angular too, it's not parallel, so it goes out even further. So, let's see, is that an aerial image? I guess we didn't go far enough north to see what's really happening on 4th Street. I believe for sure there's parking on the south side to the west, but I don't recall.
There's parking in front of the wall across the street.
Is there?
But that's on the
I
other
believe
side.
just past the little.
I think yes,
Yeah.
I believe you're right.
But to Cassandra's point, though, is that parking, you're questioning the parking in front of the Chinese restaurant to the left, which coming out of the building, out of the parking garage to the left, it's obstructive, is what it,
No, I think it would be, really wouldn't be much of a problem there, as long as it's, as you said, parallel, and they're not sticking out, and that there's nothing closer than that planned.
Right, yes.
Okay, that's all I need to know. Thank you.
And I'd like to correct myself. I believe that we were talking earlier about that line. And it may be not just a curb, but a crash wall, so it might be up a little higher so someone can't drive a car
Into it.
into that space.
Okay,
So if I may correct myself there, you would still be able to see over it. So a crash wall essentially is at, I think about 2 or 2.5 feet tall. So essentially, maybe essentially about this high. So that, yeah. And your eye height in a car, the standard is 3.5.
is
For your-
3.5 feet
For your eye height, yes,
above the, yeah,
above the pavement,
okay,
yeah.
okay. Okay, so are we ready to vote? Roll call, please.
Okay, so the motion is approval of the petition with the 3 conditions listed in the staff report. Husky,
Yes.
Clapper,
Yes.
Throckmorton,
yes.
and Burrell.
Yes.
Okay, the motion is passed and the
Ms.
petition
Clapper,
is
before you
granted.
adjourn, sorry.
Yes.
I think the minutes you guys discussed, you called them the November minutes, but I believe they're the January 2020 minutes. Could someone check your
No, they were for last month.
January
Oh,
2020?
I thought they were for the,
They were for our last meeting.
Okay, so I just wanted to have someone clarify that, because I believe the motion said November.
Well, I'll wait for the president to check, but I think the ones I read were from last month.
okay, the ones that I printed out were from November 21st.
I thought we'd approve those at our last.
I believe so. So I confirmed with Ms.
Okay.
Lillard, and she said the only ones we needed were the January 2020. So if we
Okay.
could do a motion for that, or to
No
clarify.
problem.
I'll clarify, because the minutes I read were from the January
Thank
meeting.
you.
So
Okay.
my motion was, and I will make it again, I motion approval of the minutes from the January BZA meeting, January 2020.
Okay. Second, please? Roll call.
Okay. Clapper,
Yes.
Throckmorton,
Yes.
Burrell,
Okay.
and Husky. Thank
Okay.
you, sorry about that.
Sorry for the confusion.
No, it's fine.
We are adjourned. Thank you.